and we are back for part 3 of our RTO Roundtable series with the divine Miss M and the lovely Katya of Hawkeye Consultancy, and we are talking all things validation. If you haven't watched our first 2 episodes, I strongly recommend that you do that. Be linked here, or here. But what I want to get into now is the new standards in and around TAE validation. And we've got 2 little clauses in here. And so the first one is that validation occurs following completion of training and assessment by the first learner cohort, which is pretty cool. And then the second one is the persons undertaking validation must be independent, not employed or subcontracted by the RTO to provide training and assessment, and have no other involvement or interest in the RTO's operations. Interesting. Thoughts on this one, Katya?
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I suppose as a consultant, it may be beneficial for us. I'm not sure, and we could be that external person, but how an RTO manages that and the additional cost that is associated with that could be, very expensive for them. If they have to get an external party. I think they already had to gain initial registration, they had to show that. So I suppose that process for initial was the same. But yeah, I think after after the very first cohort, I would assume they're probably doing that anyway. What type of documented evidence do they want? Do they want feedback from students? Do they want how the assessor felt that it was delivered? How do you gain that from an online environment? TAE, a lot of people do it online, or they do like an intense 2-week workshop and then, go online to do the rest of it. So how is that going to be captured, I suppose? But yeah, I think I have a TAE. So as part of that validation, I wouldn't mind doing it. I would actually quite enjoy it, but I don't deliver it. So finding someone that may have the expertise in actually delivering it and meeting those credential policies may prove to be a bit difficult for providers.
Vanessa?
Yeah, I'm going to focus on the fact it says first learner cohort. If you get scope of registration and you do the first one, is that it? You don't have to do it again? That's your first one.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously regular is still going to come into play here, right? So again, well, what is the definition of regular? Like, I regularly go to the gym every January.
At least once every 5 years. I mean, look, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to put out that, because we all know that some RTOs, providers, do the bare minimum. So if we focus on what the minimum is, if it's considered as appropriate, and then actually look further to what would a quality RTO do, because these are just the benchmarks. These are the baseline application. Anybody who's doing well will do this plus above. That's what they do. They do these plus other things. They do these, like, there's a whole heap of things that occur in really good RTOs that aren't anywhere near on these standards, because it goes over and above what's required. So if you focus first and foremost on the lowest common denominator and make sure at least they do what's required, then I think it's really important to understand the intent behind these clauses. Training and assessment is one of the key areas to deliver and assess in an RTO. You have to have qualified trainers and assessors that keep current and competent and look at all the other areas in the standards. If from that point you're focusing on the judgments they make, at least for the first, it doesn't say at least, but it says by the first cohort, right? You then have to look at what Katya was saying is like, well, the expense associated with an RTO to do it even just once every 5 years, it's still quite extensive, because like it currently doesn't quite state the credential policy. If you took what it currently says related to who can actually do that, we're looking at diploma and above. Now, whether they considered to be not to be employed or subcontracted, it's only referring to them being used to do that as a training and assessment situation. You could have that person inside your RTO doing a completely other one, but it's referring to not employed or subcontracted to provide
But it
training
says
and
has
assessment.
no other involvement or interest in the RTO's operations.
And that's the crux of it. What is considered as involvement and interest? Our subcontractors, they have to be involved and interested because you're contracting them.
Anytime you get money from it.
And a lot of them in that space work for more than one RTO. So then they can't do the other RTO that if they have any association with them.
No. And does that mean they're expecting to volunteer between RTOs, their highest level qualified trainer and assessor for TAE?
Well, TAE RTOs aren't going to share information and data. Like
that's right.
So it's one of those few really quite relatively competitive areas. And they're so protected because so much goes into building the, building the TAE materials, I think, as well.
Yeah, we're boxing ourselves in, and it's not giving enough flexibility for the real world of what is your actual intent to box this in so much. That's what I'm trying to work out.
Yeah, but to me, the intent of it is probably that you've had in the past external validation happening by the ongoing consultant from the RTO. So, if I'm working, there's a couple of RTOs that I work with, and I've got that kind of monthly retainer. We provide all sorts of support services to them. And one of them came to me the other day and goes, "Oh, I need you to give me the validation on this unit." And I said, "I can't validate it now because under the I designed the unit. I can validate a student's completed assessment because I didn't make the assessment judgment." I said, "But I can't do the validation of the initial tool. I wrote the tool. I did the mapping. That's my initial testing of it, but I can't then go and do a validation report on it because I wrote it." Yes, I wrote a very valid tool. You know what I mean? So by that same token, RTOs that are utilizing a consultant and then turn around to that consultant and go, "Right now, we want you to validate our tools." Depending on how involved and invested you are in that RTO, that can be really problematic. One of my biggest bugbears is I know that with a few large providers, they've worked with dedicated consultants, and non-ASQA regulators have then allowed that same consultant, who is also an auditor for the regulator, to go and audit their clients. Yep. Do you know what I mean? That's, to me, that's the epitome of a conflict of interest.
Sure, and that's what they should actually note in here. Instead of just involvement or interest, it should be conflict of interest. And actually make it a legal, specific, identifiable term, rather than come up with these fluty-tooty little,
That can be hard too, though, because I suppose, maybe without going too much into the fit and proper persons declaration, it would really define, they probably would need to further define a conflict, because so I might have, for example, a client on a retainer like Lauren does, and that client will come to me and want that support. They've got a TAE package, and then because I'm on an support package, I have a conflict to potentially gain money from doing that validation. Can I then not provide that service, even though I'm already giving, we're already in a relationship together?
Well, would any paid validation automatically present a conflict of interest in that case because you've been paid for a service?
Exactly. And then my interest is, I could probably potentially tell them that it's terrible so that they then buy me rewriting the material. So I think that potentially opens it up to be a big can of worms that I don't have the legal capacity to even wrap my head around. But
but it then does bring back the concept of, well, can we consider, and it depends on that credential policy, it all stems on that, can we consider an AI system that would be not involved or interested in the RTO, just like Xero isn't for everybody, just like the LMS isn't. They're all just contracted systems. So if we look at one of those for this, it's still down to the provider making the final judgment on somebody's validation outcomes. The person doing the validation isn't doing the rectification.
I mean, the ultimate goal of this is obviously ASQA and the government has always worked to the intention of, we understand TAE is problematic. We understand it needs to be protected. It needs additional protections. The question is how you go about organizing those protections, because in the last tranche, when we went from TAE 10 to TAE 16, we lost something like, 60% of providers. We lost, 30% of our trainers. And it was a massive motivation when we went from 16 to 22 was, look, we've got to somewhat make our industry sustainable. And if we make this too big and hard, we're going to lose that again. And if we lose another 30% of our trainers and another 60% of our TAE providers, we're ending up with a really, really small pool there, right?
Very thin skills and knowledge situation that we're building. The other thing too, it's not ASQA that's actually writing these. ASQA are the regulator to ensure other providers do this. It's DWA that we need to talk to say, oi, do you understand what this actually means as an outcome?
Which is interesting because they recently did all of those blueprint where they were like focusing on trainers and assessors, and this wasn't one thing that from the one I attended wasn't actually considered around the potential draft standards and the TAE validation, which actually we already have a massive barrier to entry for trained trainers and assessors. We already have a massive shortage in the industry. Is this then, further hindering RTOs attracting people who have the skills and the knowledge to be able to validate a TAE? I think potentially if they're already subcontracting them or involved in some way, and then they can't do that, particularly if they've not had any involvement in creating or writing the assessment from scratch. Completely agree with you, Lauren. If they have, developed it, well, of course I'm going to say my beautiful line is amazing and meets all compliance and it's user friendly and amazing. But I think if they've not been involved in making the assessment judgment and they haven't been involved in actually creating the assessment tool, then what's the harm of them being employed at the RTO? But I can see they're probably trying to remove any potential bias, but that may be too overreaching. I'm not sure.
I wonder if we're heading down the trail of, do we need to register who these people are?
Well, I think the fit and proper person, I think that's basically the whole purpose of the fit and proper person. Like, and Katya is well aware of this, like the extent to which consultants are working behind the scenes with ASQA on like, how the hell are you guys actually expecting us to roll this out without, several of us, without, like the three of us here and several other people having to literally go and sign fit and proper persons and submit them for thousands of RTOs. Like, ASQA's going to be flooded with fit and proper persons. If they stick to if they stick to the letter of what's gone out at the moment. I don't think that will be the final thing that comes out, but there does need to be, I'll be the first to put up my hand and say there does need to be not a culling of consultants, but the idea that you can go and do your TAE and be a trainer for 6 weeks or 6 months and then turn around and call yourself a consultant, and we all know that there's enough that put themselves in that bucket, is really problematic. And I've had 2 cancellations that I've had to work through with people and negotiate, and both of them have come out of, the RTO's come to me and gone, we've been working with a consultant for the last 3 years. We've now received an intent to cancel. The consultant has now bailed on us. We've spent $200,000. They developed our assessments. They've developed our policies and procedures. We thought we were doing everything right, and we're now staring down the brink of cancellation. We need help. you know, uh, there has to be
It's
a
not
way
an
that
uncommon
I can track
story.
that.
The sad thing about it, it's not an uncommon story.
No.
Like so many others, we get clients who come to us who are like, oh, I've engaged with this consultant. I thought, everything was going well for my initial registration. They submit it, and then it's like, oh, all of this is wrong. You have like 10 days to submit, all their rectification. They don't understand what the documents mean. They have no idea what it is. That consultant clearly hasn't educated them on the process. Well, this is what this document is for, and this is why you need this document, and this is what you're going to have to like process that you should follow, obviously contextualizing with them, but this is what you should do to succeed moving forward. So yeah, we'll always be there if you need us, to lean on, and if you want to go on an ongoing support package, but we want to set you up so that you can succeed without us, and that we're putting quality providers into the space. We already know there's so many there that don't do that. So I think, yeah, it's a shame that it's uncommon. I think there is potentially some works with ITECA where they are going to hopefully release some type of framework or something around consultants. ASK would release their guide to working with consultants. Again, I think it kind of pushed back on, we're not going to really, endorse anyone, and they can't really be seen to endorse anyone anyway. But did provide guidance, make sure you do your DD before you sign up with a consultant. Ask them for fit and proper person declarations. If they're not willing to give it to you, then maybe that's not the consultant you should be dealing with. Like it should be transparent, that consultancy should start off with trust from the very get-go. And if they're not even willing to give that, then, maybe you should go elsewhere.
You see, that I find that as an interesting one, because I won't provide my full fit and proper person to an RTO. My stance on it has been, I will give you guys the application, but the details of my engagement with other providers is already sitting with ASQA. I will send you a screenshot of where I have provided that directly to ASQA. But I have an issue with that from the perspective of, I don't think it's appropriate for me to be saying to other RTOs, here's everybody who I've worked with, and here's all of their dirty laundry, because that's what's in my fit and proper person is like, I worked with this person and saved them from cancellation, and I worked with this person and brought them back from, do you know what I mean? Like, there's just way too much confidential information in, at least in the way that I've written my fit and proper person, because I've got like a 20-page, additional letter, which is like so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. So ASPA's got all the information anyway. Like they're the ones that audited me.
Definitely redact the information for any consultants that are out there. I should probably clarify that. Don't give everything out. Definitely redact it.
Clients will not be happy about it. And clients also understanding, like, it's important if you do have an ongoing relationship with a consultant, talk to them about the fit and proper person and how you would approach it and how they can approach it and how you guys can protect each other's information and how you can share the information to the regulator as required in an appropriate fashion that doesn't actually put you at risk. But I think, true to your point, Katya, like, I think for most of us that do regular work with the regulator and are regularly audited by the regulator, there's no secret that for the last couple of years they've been monitoring carefully and noting, like, within audit reports who the auditor was, who the assessment provider was, who they purchased materials from, and they've got a pretty good read on industry now as to, like, when they see certain names, when they see certain businesses, when they see certain tools have been processed without being contextualized, they're like, red flag. Can you show me that?
Yes.
They're far more savvy than they were 5 years ago.
It's part of, they're even looking, they look at data. It's part of that environmental scan. They use so many different intelligence. It's very intelligence driven. They're looking at data, what's currently going on in the landscape to form those risks. So if people think that they're not looking at this, then, Yeah, then we've got other issues because they definitely are, and they're looking at, start and end dates. What are you reporting to the NCBR? Are you like really shortened? They look at those things. So if you're saying you've got this amazing task that's delivered over, to 1,200 hours or whatever it is, 52 weeks, and you're saying all these great things and it looks great in the task, but then your student data isn't showing or reflecting that, then there's clearly a disconnect. And I
And
think
with
it's
AI, they're going to be doing that so much more. Like, if you don't think that they're going to be using AI to go through every single one of those ABS
Oh, they
data
are.
records, and turning around and going, hold on a second. According to this, you guys issued 27 qualifications, all with a start date of Tuesday and an end date of Wednesday. You want to explain to me why that's happened? Do you know what I mean? Like, the first thing I do when I
isn't that how they picked up on a lot of those Cricos issues?
yeah, for the data.
Start, end date, names, date of births are all exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look at it, I mean, I do it when I go in an audit. If I'm looking at an RTO, I go through their data and that's why I love Accelerate is I've got my couple of reports and I'll run them and then I'll turn around to them and go, so how come you're delivering this unit in a day? And they'll go, no, 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 no. And I'm going, well, that's what your data's telling me, and how come this trainer's got a 20% completion rate? And how come this qualification's got a 3% completion rate? And how come this unit's got, do you know what I mean? Like, your data says so much more.
And how many of those providers have actually included that in their systems of monitoring and evaluating what they're doing? Are they actually using the data they have within themselves? And that's what I would
Most of
be
them don't know how to
encouraging.
access it.
And that's what I would be encouraging lots of providers as they move forward and as these standards change, really investigate what they consider to be a system. What do they actually consider to be monitored? They have a lot of data, even small providers. Anything that's using, like even just data from like a financial system, you're going to be able to get records related to a profit and loss. In their student systems is exactly the same. There is a profit and loss, but it just happens to be tweaked regarding start and end dates. Or, there is a lot of information that RTOs need to start increasing their digital literacy, their technical aspects regarding what they consider to be a system and data, and really use it to monitor it instead of afterwards plan with it for before, like in the future stuff.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we have gone well over. Oh, what a surprise. This has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much to both of you. Vanessa, we've obviously got a massive series coming out later on this year with our Quality Compliance Collective. Katya, I am so looking forward to speaking with you and your sister about all things Hawkeye Consultancy because, I have to say, you guys did win the Bell competition for like the cutest and funniest merch. Vanessa and I do feel like we're going to have a little competition with you on that one this year.
Bring it on, ladies. We're ready. We're already coming up with creative juices of what we're going to have this year. So
I love it. I love it. So, guys, you can get all of Vanessa and Katya's information. But, guys, for those that, don't want to go down and look in the comments, last closing thoughts and, where people can find you and what you've got coming out, starting with you, Vanessa.
Oh, I seem to be everywhere. Apparently, everybody tells me that that's where it is. I live on LinkedIn. I have several places you can find me, whether it's me personally or my products or services. That's my big issue that I spend a lot of time on there. You can find me there or just, visit my website. And of course, come and subscribe to Lauren. And we've got lots of conversations that we have here.
Excellent. Katya.
So I'm also on LinkedIn. More than welcome to follow me. Also, the Hawkeye Consultancy page is on LinkedIn. We provide a lot of updates on that social page. We are currently located in Southport, so if anyone is around the Gold Coast area and has any questions, please come in. Feel free to come in and have a chat and a coffee. We always like to talk things compliance and have coffee. You can also access my amazing team. It's not just me that keeps Hawkeye afloat. I've got an amazing team and they're also attached to the Hawkeye LinkedIn page. So yeah, Let us know if you need anything. And thank you so much, Lauren, for having me. And Vanessa, love the discussions we've had today, ladies. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been lovely to see you.
Thank you so much, guys. We hope you found this valuable. If you have, please like, subscribe, and do all of those good things. Make sure that you also check out Vanessa and Katya and connect with them on LinkedIn. Hope you guys are enjoying this series. You can follow that series. There will be a playlist somewhere. We've got lots more good information coming out. It is great to be able to listen to, you know, just lots of professionals and lots of different opinions like we've had here today with Vanessa and Katya. Have a great day. My name is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services.